Hello everybody! Once again, it is the theatric Dyspraxic, and I wanna welcome you to my new video, and new content from me. I hope you enjoy it. Ooh, the weather is 72 degrees, high 84, low 63. It's gonna be a sunny night? Anyway, this is my first, what do you want to call it? It's not a reaction, because, well, I'll explain it in a minute, but I have started to make different kinds of videos than what I've made in the past. Previously, I'd just kind of vlog about things, but I realized I wasn't very good at that, so instead I've decided to either read things, written things, articles and poetry, song lyrics, whatever people want me to. I've said in my previous video that that is something that I'm open to, so feel free to suggest anything. But today I am going to do a reading of 3 things that I've written personally about dyspraxia. So the first 2 are songs that I've written, just lyrics. One I wrote when I was 19, the other one I wrote about a year and a half ago when I was 24. So I'm going to read those from my phone. I hope that's okay. And then there's an article that I wrote. I wrote it for a website. It hasn't been published yet. Who knows if it will be in the future, but so far as of now it hasn't. But yeah, I decided to just read it, and I'm just going to do readings. Yeah, I'll read anything. If you want me to read it, I will read it out loud on camera, as long as it's not a book. I can't read a whole book in one sitting. Out loud or inside my head, I just can't do that. But if you'd like me to read anything, it could be a short story, it could be an article you've written, it could be a wonderful poem that, nothing gold can stay. And I apologize, I didn't really do any preparation beforehand, so, I haven't shaved. Obviously, I haven't shaved. So this first one I wrote when I was 19, and it's called Stumbling in Silence. You say that I am misunderstanding, and that in time I'll see what you mean. You say that I'm just not used to it, but however I try, I still just can't do it. To think about your woes and your anger, but just think about how it must be for the stranger, who knocks about and can't seem to make right. How would it feel if you had to live that? So I'm stumbling in silence, and nobody knows. They think they can tell you you're not alone. You can't put into words. You can't get no guidance. You're not an introvert. You're just stumbling in silence. It must be easy for you to just say your thoughts and your feelings in the way that conveys all meaning. What would you think if you were not able to do all the things that make you so typical? Would you believe there's hope in the future to live a life that you can pursue? Imagine if your hands always tremble and your mind was so clouded from things so simple. Would everyone think you were lazy, or maybe a klutz, or think you were faking? They ask themselves, how can they be this dim? Imagine if they said, there's something wrong with him. Even though inside, you're just like them. But you can't explain. So you just fall silent. And I'm stumbling in silence. Nobody knows. They think they can tell you you're not alone. You can't put into words. You can't get no guidance. You're not an introvert. You're just stumbling in silence. And the hardest thing is knowing you're all right. Inside your brain. Inside your mind. And I lay it all out on the line. But they all think it's just a bumbling lie. Oh, don't you know? Everything you do, you can gain control. I wish I could too. But it seems so scary to not know what happens. Because you can know it, and yet it still seems so damning. If you knew the pain, when you're alone and no one knows, it's still the same. You can't get by on your own. Because your mind can't think straight. You can't be pleasant. You can't keep friends. Because you're scared that even then, you know what to say and still what to do. But you just don't know when it'll all come unglued. If I could say just what I know, you might just think that it's all a show. And if you could see just what I mean, then I won't need to suffer in silence, in defiance, deep in shyness. Don't know how to say, but I know how to think. Can't communicate, can't demonstrate. Just every day, I come to make everyone think and shake their head. And if I can't get the point across real plain, I'll back out of the way and back to my shell. Just please tell me that you'll try to understand, so that I no longer have to just stumble in silence. So I wrote that when I was 19. It was when I may have been 18 at the time, because I think that I was, I was definitely 18, because I was working at my first job at a movie theater, and I'm not going to go into all the bad things that happened when I worked there, because in my book I talk about it and I go into detail about it. You know, when people can read that, then you'll know the details. But I was struggling at the time because it was my first job, and I didn't really know how to deal with it because I was messing up a lot and I was stumbling a lot. So that was the first song. The next song I wrote a year and a half or 2 years ago, and it's basically about similar things, but it's just a bit different. And this one is called A Lack of Control. I know, I know, I know. It seems so easy, yet I still grapple. And the way that you're all scowling at me, I know just how it may seem. I wake up and dread the day ahead. Will I mess it all up? Will things go right instead? I just don't know how it's going to be. Every new task is a mystery. What it comes down to is a lack of control. I long for a life where I can grab hold. It's just so much harder when nobody knows. It's all a lack of control. I can't ever seem to find the right words, as they dart like letters in a rattling cage. With every new failure it seems so much worse. At the height of frustration I explode in a rage. How can I ever find a true love when I can't even find comfort within myself? Who would want someone who gets everything wrong? And with my artless expressions they surely can tell that what it comes down to is a lack of control. I long for a life where I can grab hold. It's just so much harder when nobody knows. It's all a lack of control. I'm always alone inside of this world, as everyone else walks a linear road. When you seem so disgraceful in all that you do, just play the Piero, a penniless fool. I try to buck up and get through it, but there's nary a day where I don't look stupid. And despite all these complex emotions I bear, I seem so simple-minded, like nothing is there. Sometimes I wish that it just could be seen. The problems I face have a deeper meaning. the worry, the angst, the consuming fatigue. It's like trying to walk in zero gravity. And it all comes down to a lack of control. And you're always longing to one day feel normal. In this zealous world, you feel so alone. All because of a lack of control. So obviously that goes hand in hand with both dyspraxia and depression, and what it's like to try to get through life living with this condition. And I'm not bitter about it. I know that part of it makes me who I am. And even though it causes several challenges in my life, and I don't really have a whole lot of people in my life who really understand it, and there are times where I do get down about it. If it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for having it, then I wouldn't really have as much that would make me unique. Because I know that it's just one of those things that, you know, I may struggle with it, but I can do something about it. I can try and encourage people to learn more about it. I can try and tell my story and express the things that I've been through, and, you know. My closet looks like it leads to some sort of like dark forest or something, like there's a monster in this closet. Or it's like a tiny little black monolith, you know. It's like Monolith Jr., you know. Beep, 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 beep. Okay. So those were the two songs, and I hope that you enjoyed them. They were a bit on the melancholy side, but, you know, that is sort of just part of living with dyspraxia.